This meeting to order. This is the Gullah Geechee Land and Cultural Preservation Task Force meeting on May the 1st, 2023. Are we in compliance with FOIA? Okay.
Yes, sir, we are.
Thank you. Would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Simmons?
Here.
Mr. Hens?
Here.
Ms. Wright? Here. Mr. Stevens?
Here.
And Mr. Abdul Malik, Mr. Campbell, and Ms. Green are excused. But we have a quorum.
Sorry?
We have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda that's set before us. I have a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Hens has made the motion. Is there a second? Ms. Wright is second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Opposed. We have the minutes from our April 3rd meeting, and I'd like to entertain a motion to approve those minutes from our April 3rd meeting. Yes, sir.
Last page, top it. Luana Graves, Luana's just of the Low Country Gullah Foundation. Provided an update.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that correction. Any other comments or corrections on this minutes from April 3rd? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from April 3rd with that revision.
Move that we accept the minutes with the necessary correction.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons has made the motion. Is there a second? Second. Ms. Wright has made the second. All those in favor? Raise your right hands. Thank you so much. That is approved. Let me just back up a little bit and greet my public. Thank you all for being here as well. There's another fine sellout crowd for this Gullah Geechee Task Force meeting. I think I'm going to start bringing my piano and microphone to these meetings. See if we get some more folks out here to take interest in it. But I do appreciate you taking your time, and to my colleagues as well on the dais for this work that we do. A lot of people may not find very exciting, but it is certainly very important to our community. So those of you who are in our public and our valued partners, thank you for taking the time to be here, and certainly want to acknowledge the work that the staff does. Okay, the next item we have on the agenda is appearance by citizens. Do we have any appearance by citizens?
No, sir.
All right, moving on. The next item on our agenda is the staff report. First item is district planning update. Favorite Plan B, Missy Lewick.
Thank you. Missy Lewick, Assistant Community Development Director. Thank you for having me. We don't have a district planning update for today's meeting. There was an update last month to the Public Planning Committee. We intend to give that high-level update at next month's Gullah Task Force meeting for you.
And that last thing that we talked about was the definitions that they had made with the LMO and the family compound family stuff. But that was really what was on that last agenda for the Public Planning Committee?
No, I'm talking about the district planning project, not the LMO amendments project. And we intend to also have the LMO amendments project update before the Gullah Task Force as well.
I'm sorry, can you turn your microphone on for us, please?
This the Mid-Island District Planning Update?
It's the town-wide districts planning project.
Multiple. Okay,
Thank you. All right, next is our Historic Neighborhood Permitting and Design Studio report.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be back in the Gullah Geechee Task Force place of business today. So we have a very short Historic Neighborhoods Permitting and Design Studio report. I do want to highlight that we mentioned having a case study for this meeting. However, we have a packed agenda, and we also have a packed agenda for next month too. So I will plan to give case studies, a couple of case studies, some really good ones that we've had recently and some that we've actually been able to complete within a short period of time. So I'll be able to give an in-depth case study probably in a later summer meeting. So just wanted to make note of that. So for this report, though, I would say that surprisingly, we have had 0 new requests. However, we have completed 5 of the ongoing active projects that we had rolling. So we're very happy to be giving people, resolving their issues and resolving their requests and inquiries. Some of those that were completed were family subdivision concept plans, family compound applications for mobile home placement, providing guidance to folks prior to submitting their minor subdivision applications, and then some commercial and residential inquiries on before developing land and talking about access issues and density according to the lot size and things like that. So we've been covering a host of things and helping to clear things up for folks, and I look forward to sharing some more details on that later this summer. One other thing that I want to say is that in addition to the Historic Neighborhoods Permitting and Design Studio, the formal place for having those meetings and helping people with their land development inquiries, we're also handling a number of customer service requests, phone calls, people dropping in to town hall on a regular basis. And so just want to bring that to your attention that a lot of my time is also utilized helping people who are calling about application requirements before submission to make sure that their applications go through smoothly, or folks who have a question. Of course, we get a number of customer service calls about the Home Safety Repair Program and Sewer Connect, of which I will route them to Nick Tay, who you all have heard from the last month and we'll hear from again today, who covers both of those programs. So there's a balancing act, and we're able to help people in multiple ways besides just having the design studio if that might not be the best route for them. So again, I will have some more detailed information in the coming months, and that concludes the design studio report for this month.
Any questions? Yes, Mr. Simmons.
All right, Ms. Perry, I'm not sure. I was asked by a particular applicant, I don't know if it's in order to call a name or not, but a particular applicant asked about getting an approval on their application, and then seemed to have not been able to get stamp plans subsequent to the approval. So that's one applicant. I think it's still a little bit in hanging in the limbo. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe I could get with you afterward, but I was asked to bring that to your attention when we talk about the permitting process. So there was I don't know if it's a glitch or hang up, still some unfinished business with one of those which was approved and did not get the plats stamped.
Yep, so we can definitely talk about that. If you want to send me an email, I can look into their application. One other thing that I should mention about the design studios is that some folks also are they're doing their applications, doing their projects, and may not have gone through the design studio process. And so we're trying to make some process improvements around that to make sure that we're catching folks, even if they're not aware that we offer the design studio, making sure that they come, that we can catch them on the internal process and make sure that we can have that designated time to go through things with them to clear up things along the way, so that there isn't any confusion. But of course, we still have a number of inquiries and requests that are open, and so we'll make sure to be in communication with folks to make sure that they are getting what they need and moving through the process.
Other questions for? I know that I have someone that I've been working with. They've just kind of been in a holding pattern as well. And this may be a good time to mention about the Community Development Corporation coming online. So we're kind of waiting and see, and we might be able to access some other resources as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next is the Home Safety and Repair Program update. I believe that is Nick Tay. Practicing that name.
Afternoon, Nick Barrientos. So since the last time we met, we have only had one new application come in for the program. We are still at 76 approved applications. Has been a very long process, but I am happy to say that we are making some progress, and since our last update, we have been able to award a contract of a bundle of homes to repair to Cohen Construction. And with that, we actually have 2 bundles now under contract of homes to repair. Right now, we don't have any updates on the repairs, but when we have an update, when the update is available, I'll be back with that.
So when was the homes were awarded to, or presented to Mr. Cohen? How long ago was that?
That was last week.
I'm really glad to
We
hear
were
that.
able to meet and move forward with awarding him.
Other questions for Nick Tay?
Okay, I guess, I also have been contacted once again by a contractor that said that, you know, they were sort of in waiting, and that had turned in all the information, and it was sort of in a holding process, and it was getting to work against his moving forward, so. But it's good to hear that, that you have awarded contracts. Do we have any time frame if they have been awarded to go ahead on those, or?
We don't have a specific time frame right now. We're still waiting on contractors to obtain required documents before they can start the repairs.
Okay, so the award doesn't mean a go ahead, it means he's been awarded.
He's
still-
awarded, he just now has to get through the process of, again, obtaining just needed permits before he.
Okay.
Questions for Nick Tay?
Can you just refresh me with the process with the funding? Like, it's not going to run out, is there a time limit on it, or just to, you know, in terms of being that we're having not issues, but having to wait through the process for people to get awarded, you know, for any kind of assistance, is there a time limit with the funding?
To touch up on that better than I can.
The Home Safety and Repair Program was created using ARPA dollars, and $400,000 was allocated for the Home Safety and Repair Program. In the proposed budget, Town Council will be considering a request to continue the program, but that has yet to be reviewed and approved, the budget, the town budget.
So there is an end date to it if it doesn't get approved?
Possibly.
My understanding, though, that would roll over into the next, there are more funds that would be available, like for the next year or so.
It was approved as a 2-year program, and the first year of funding rolled into the second. And, further funding allocations would have to be approved.
How many contractors do we have now signed up for that program? Do we know?
Have about 12 last time that I checked. I have sent out applications to other contractors, but as of right now, that's all we have. And then I do contact them. I send out emails and I call with, again, bundles as well, which is what Mr. Cohen, I sent him email, I called him, and he was able to go out, get those estimates back to me. I have been doing that with all of the contractors on our list. It's just who's getting back to me with estimates.
How many of those contractors are minorities, do you know? Do you have them in that classification?
We do not have them in a specific classification, but off the top of my head, I know that we have at least 3.
Still accepting,
Yes, we are.
encourage people to
And I'm in
support.
contact, and I've been sending out as well to contractors that are not on our list.
So has most of the contractors been able to meet the requirements to start the work? There's still procedural issues with them?
So the contractors have been approved already to be on the list. Again, I have sent out work for them to go look at. The only estimates that I have received have been from Cohen Construction as of now.
So it sounds like he's likely to get some work.
He is. It's just the rest of the contractors that I've reached out have just not gotten back to me with any estimates that we would need in order to approve an award contract to.
So it's not that you need more than one contract to get estimates. You can go with the one who gives you the work. Who gives you?
We do need 3, but again, with this bundle, it has been sent out multiple times, and throughout those multiple occasions, Mr. Cohen has been the only one to actually submit. So we met with the team and Mr. Cohen, and we all agreed that since he has been the only one to, and it has gone out for bidding multiple times, that we were comfortable with awarding him the contract.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Other questions for Nick Tay? And thank you so much for your work.
I have this sewer one next if you'd like.
Oh, you have the next one too?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Sewer connection program update.
That one's a little shorter. Since our last time, we have not received, the town has not received any new applications. We are still at 25 approved applications, and today you will actually be able to hear from PSD and Depot on their involvement in the program, so you will be able to hear a little more about the sewer connection program later.
Okay. Questions for Nick Tay? Mentioned, we will have a presentation from Public Service, PSD. Well, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have general staff updates. I believe that will be Ms. Krishana Perry Jackson.
Jackson Perry, don't
Jackson
forget the
Perry.
Jackson.
Jackson Perry, sorry.
Yeah, so we wanted to incorporate a general staff updates section. There are some things that we get to work on and that we get to do that are also advancing the goals of the task force and of the Gullah Geechee preservation project report as well. So we wanted an opportunity to be able to share some of those things as well if they're not connected to a piece of public policy or a particular program. And also just to keep the task force informed on things that are going on with the liaison role that I'm also in and other things as well. So bear with me as I have a few general updates. Management wanted me to share about a conference that I attended recently that myself and our designer, our landscape architect staff member attended. We went to the Gullah Sustainability Conference hosted on St. Helena Island. That happened March 31st and April 1st. That was hosted by the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition and had a number of people there talking about sustainability and environmental climate resiliency for sea islands. There were representatives there from across the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So it was great to be able to coordinate and communicate and build relationships along the corridor that could potentially help with things going on Hilton Head. The conference was 2 days. Both days were held at the historic Gullah Church, Brick Baptist Church on St. Helena. Day one, we did lots of introductions, getting acclimated with each other, and were able to tour historic landmarks on St. Helena. So we went to the Penn Center, Reconstruction Era National Historic Park, and their new internationally renowned library that the Gullah community was instrumental in getting constructed. If you have not been to the library on St. Helena, Beaufort County Library, it's beautiful, and it has Gullah culture infused in the architecture and in the layout on the inside, and it was wonderful to be able to see that history and culture in a more modern space and how that was able to be achieved. We also got to tour a traditional Gullah family compound and understand what the intent and what the implementation implementation. It's been happening for generations, but to see what that looks like and to help to inform some of the policies and programs that we're working on here on Hilton Head. And the conference was more of a free flowing. They wanted it to be more like the water, and so there weren't particular times and everything, and things kind of just flowed together for a just a wonderful mix of information sharing. And so wanted y'all to be aware that we attended that, and the host Queen Quet and the Gullah Geechee Coalition, and we're all happy to have someone from Hilton Head representing and being a part of the entire corridor conversations. So that was great. We did host the Wills Clinic, and Luana will share a more up-to-date report later this year, probably this summer, but we had 23 wills were drafted for folks at the April 15th Wills Clinic that we offered for free that Luana put on with the Gullah Foundation, Low Country Gullah Foundation, and the Center for Heirs Property. So that was a big success, and we thank Luana for putting that on for the community. Wanted to share that we have some program progress being made on the Gullah History and Cultural Education Program. So we're coordinating internally on that and getting our outline and everything ready to put together a video, and that will be coming before you for some feedback and review later this summer as well. And I just wanted to make a note that the next couple meetings we have a number of discussion topics, so they might be a little bit longer, but hopefully we'll be sharing some critical information that will help advance our work. So you'll see that we have our presentation today, as well as a couple of other presentations coming up in the next couple months. So just wanted to get your eye out for that, make sure that we have attendance, not only from the task force members, but also from the public to hear about Heritage Libraries work, and some of the things that Luana's working on with Low Country Gullah Foundation, and also some updates and feedback coming up with district planning and LMO rewrites and things like that. So keep your eyes open for that and be attentive to that. And that's all for the general staff updates. Were there any questions?
Questions? Ms. Wright?
So with the conference that you attended last week, so what is the one common thread that you saw throughout the corridor in terms of families and compounds and other related issues that we may be seeing here in our area?
Sure. One thing that I took away from the conference, especially being new to the area, new to being immersed in the Gullah Geechee culture full time, is that, of course, everyone across the corridor is a little bit different and has different issues. And so we'll have to make sure that, when we're reaching out and talking to other areas, that we're looking at similarities. So there were people there from Amelia Island in Florida who have a very similar kind of makeup and have dealt with similar issues that we have in Hilton Head, being a resort community and bringing in those sorts of things. So thinking about that, not every Sea Island is experiencing the same issues and the same level of growth and those sorts of things. And then there are some folks who are really intent on keeping the values as they were decades and generations ago, whereas I think some folks are okay with progressing more. So those are a few things that I took away from that, and namely in particular, being able to observe and kind of tour the family compound. The original intent is still there, where the compound is set up in a circle. There's agriculture in the middle for the families to be able to work on together, have a common meeting space in their family compound, and the houses are set up in such a particular way, and they've worked with the government there to make sure that they can do that still. It may not be, houses today are not traditionally set up in a circle, right, with a common meeting area in the middle, but because that was the intent of their family compound and the values that they were trying to maintain and continue, they were able to do that. So those were some of the things that I took away. And another thing is that there's a lot of environmental work going on along the corridor that I'm not sure that I was aware of. So learning that, Gullah folks are at the forefront of looking at green infrastructure, opportunities for climate resiliency, working with scientists on the ground to study, oyster shells and rising sea levels and those sorts of things. So I wasn't aware that those types of projects and the type of funding and grants that are available also to be doing that sustainability work with Gullah Geechee people across the corridor.
So when is the follow-up on that?
Making sure that we're thinking about these things and asking those questions. So again, with the intent of these programs, my question to folks, when I'm working with them in design studios or as we're looking at process improvements for the programs that we've already put into place based on the report, making sure that we are following through on the intent or that we are asking that question to the community to make sure that what we're working on is actually meeting the need.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Hintz.
Thanks for the updates, appreciate it. On your memo, you mentioned about preparing the education program video. Program just going to be a video, or is the video augmenting the program?
So the video is going to be kind of the closing item for the program. We'll have some required in-person activities for those who are going through the program, and then it will culminate with the video. And we're still working out the details of that and how we'll implement that, but we're working within the community to make sure that it's completely, the information is clear and appropriate, accurate, and that we have representation from the community on that video. And then we'll also be working on, incorporating the town staff's position and, the purpose and connection between those things. So I'll have a detailed report for you. Just wanted to let you know that we are making progress, but we'll have an opportunity to get some feedback and share with you what we're looking to implement here shortly.
Oh, it's my hope that you said in a paragraph here that part of what you want to do with the cultural preservation project report is provide a vision for what successful implementation of the report is going to look like. And maybe that could be a part of the project as well. But what would we like to ideally see if we're able to accomplish all of this?
I think that's a great point, and then that we're going to get to that after the presentation by Deepwell and PSD, and I'd be happy to hear more of the feedback and items on how we are continuing to implement the report. But we'll definitely note that.
And then last is just a comment. You indicated that you're doing a collaborative partnership approach, both internally and externally, with community partners to help accomplish the preservation project report, and I think that's great. I think, working with Low Country Gullah Foundation has been terrific, so that I think, the town is tasked with doing a lot, but we have a lot of resources within the community that many would have the expertise and would love the opportunity to help promote this list. So hopefully we're continuing to reach out to other organizations and individuals to help with that mission.
Absolutely.
Okay. Other questions for Kashana? Yeah, I would echo Mr. Hintz's comments about collaborations, and certainly with Heritage Library, who's already established a program, and there may be some other resources that we can use to support staff. It's worth mentioning that when we were going through developing these recommendations, there was a lot of discussion about even the possibility of having consultants come in and work on a phase 2. My understanding that a lot of that we have decided that staff is able to handle it. So I don't want to overburden the staff, but I'm glad we're handling a lot of those things in-house. But at the same time, we still have the ability to reach out to some outside resources for support. Thank you, Krishana.
Yes, sir. And if I could just give a brief introduction for the next item.
Please.
Deep Well and PSD report presentation. So you have an item in your packet that explains the overview of why we're having them come out today and what we're hoping to hear from them. But just to let you know, this was in direct response to some of the questions that you have had over the last couple of months. And so we're hoping that this helps to get us all on the same page and provide some updated information and some progress reports on what they're working on as far as the sewer connection goes in the community. So I just wanted to give a brief introduction before we invite them up, and thank you.
All right, under our discussion items, we do have Deep Well, Project Safe, and I believe these items will be presented by Project Safe and the PSD Public Service District Water Connections Update. We'd like to welcome Sandy Gillis, Deep Well Executive Director, and Pete Nardi, General Manager for Hilton Head PSD. I'm not sure if you guys are doing this one at a time, you're doing it together, and
PowerPoint, I don't know if it got.
would be great.
Okay, I have it on the drive.
While we're waiting for them to get that set up, I wouldn't mind, I pretty much know you, Pete. I'm not sure if I know Ms. Gillis as well. Maybe you can give us a formal introduction of who you are and what you do.
Sure, I'm Pete Nardi, I'm the General Manager of Hilton Head PSD Public Service District.
And I'm Sandy Gillis. I'm the current Executive Director at the Deep Well Project. I've been on staff there for the last 5 years. 5 years before that, I served on the Board of Directors there. So I've got about a decade of affiliation with the nonprofit organization. And really our involvement with the project that we're discussing today is really the point person and working with clients to help them with the application phase. Pete's team does a great job with the actual construction. We don't have any motor graders or backhoes, but the key is connecting people to the services. And I did want to mention Nikki Charles is also with us today. She is with the Community Foundation of the Low Country, who back 25 years ago raised the money that is now going out through the Project Safe coffer. So the Project Safe sewer access for everyone really is a lovely, when you talk about collaborations of private-public partnerships, but we wouldn't be here to talk about results and how many people are connected if the folks at Community Foundation of the Low Country had not been very successful in raising $3.5 to $4 million. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're really glad to have Nikki with us as well today. And if there are specific questions about the approval process for that, all of that happens really at the Community Foundation of the Low Country. Once we help people with the applications and make sure the applications are correct and thorough, we then track them either to Project Safe at Community Foundation of the Low Country or here at the town of Hilton Head through the TOWNS program.
Yes. Most of us, I think, are familiar with Deep Well and the Community Foundation of the Low Country, so very significant and important partners, and thank you for your contribution and support. I was very fortunate to be at the celebration for Deep Well about 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually. Yes.
Yeah, Ivory Forest.
Yes.
Get to see the movie?
I did. It was very well done.
Well, I think we kind of did a combo presentation to streamline it for you, but the first few slides really relate to PSD, so I'm going to let Pete take it from here, and I'll be back in a jiffy.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, just your title slide here, I think is a good example of what we're talking about here. You got a lot of partners involved in this. It really some of you know, this Project SAFE and the PSD town, you know, it won a national award from HUD a few years back as a great national example of private philanthropic effort. And I think what you're now, with this new program with the town, you're carrying it even further, and I think you've got a really great example of a great like water equity program. It really is like a national example that of what's going on. Just real quick, the PSD, you know, this is sanitary sewer, not stormwater, right? Sanitary sewer, so the wastewater that's generated inside our homes and businesses. That's what we're talking about here. Hilton Head PSD, over 150 miles of gravity sewer line that we're maintaining, more than 70 miles of sewer force main, 150 plus sewer lift stations. The island is flat. We don't really have much advantage of topography to move wastewater around, so we have to pump it everywhere. So it's a very intensive program in terms of having sewer lift stations at the utility. We'll talk a little bit about low pressure sewer. We have hundreds of them in service now, and that's really like our newest form of the sanitary sewer system, the public sewer system. It's a great technique for serving areas that are all where the above ground environment is already built, and you're sort of retrofitting an urban area with the urban. Big picture with Hilton at PSD sewer in general, we are more than 95% connected to sewer. So more than 95% of our water customers are also our sewer customers. That is well above the national average of about 80%. If you go out on the mainland and look at Beaufort, Jasper Water and Sewer, you know, serving both Beaufort and Jasper counties, they're about 60% connected to sewer. So it's an area of high connectivity to sewer. And these photographs are showing you that this is our Chapin Park regional sewer lift station. The other one is the Mid-Spanish Wells sewer lift station. It was built with state clean water reserve funds. And all-terrain sewer E1 is the actual brand name, the product that we use for low pressure sewer currently. So when I'm talking about these two types of sewer, that top photo, that's a low pressure sewer unit. And then the traditional type of sewer is gravity sewer. You want to try to not use power and electricity when you're moving wastewater around. That's the efficiency of it. So you try to have gravity sewer where you can, but you're talking about, you know, a built system, and so sometimes you just don't have the ability to serve everything with gravity. You've got to make your own connection. That's where low pressure sewer has come in. What it is a grinder unit, like a large scale garbage disposal, and it's buried on the property. The property is converted from the septic, if it's a conversion project, the property is converted from the septic system into the low pressure sewer unit. It's got an alarm panel on it. It is the PSV's responsibility into perpetuity. The owner does not maintain these at all, the utility does. Pump, any issue with the power, etc., they call the utility. We consider it to just be the public sewer. That's a little different than a gravity sewer connection. That gravity pipe, when it's on the private property, that's the private property owner's responsibility from the house to the... A lot of marketing related to sewer connections in general. The PSD has put together a web page that is like A to Z information about connecting to sewer. We call the overall program Connect Now. And that's our web page off of our psd.com website. We're sending targeted direct mail postcards. We've been doing that pretty much quarterly, where we're just getting out water connections, customers, a water connection, not a sewer connection. And they're getting a postcard from us saying you can connect. Bill inserts. So we do a bill insert newsletter. We do those at least 4 times a year. You're talking about 12,000 plus mailings when we do that. Every bill, every PSD bill statement contains the Connect Now QR code and the information there. So that's 12,000 statements a month that go out. PSD does a lot of social media, and we make Connect Now a big part of like our Facebook. So Project SAFE, like Sandy was mentioning, it goes back to the year 1999. It was how the community raised a local match for a community development block grant program on sewer program on Muddy Creek Road. Project SAFE to raise the local match. we've really lost count. It's resulted in more than 1,000 connections since inception. And like Nikki was telling you, Project SAFE coupled a tremendous capital campaign about, in 20, town government put about $9 million towards sewer mains in fire unserved areas, going into areas where the connections were going to be problematic for some of the property owners cost-wise. So SAFE and town-funded program, as I'm sure Sandy will discuss with it, you created something that really kind of fills in some of the gaps that were there from SAFE, and so far to date, we've actually made 16 connections. I think we've got a couple estimates in the pipeline, and like Nick Tate said. So regardless of if you are grant qualified or not, just if you're an individual customer, all of our customers are eligible for the PSD's long-term low-interest financing. The connection will be performed, the costs incurred. This includes the impact fee, the sewer impact fee, all new connections. Goes on the tax bill over 20 years. We let it travel with the land, so an owner doesn't have to finish out the assessment if they're selling. This opportunity can be used in conjunction with any grant. If you don't get something covered by the grant, you come back and you can use the part of the long-term loan interest fine. And then we also do one here, same as cash. That takes us up to Sam.
Well, before Pete leaves, any questions about?
I was going to ask, do you guys have any questions for Pete? Mr. Hintz.
Thank you. Just in the big picture, PSD serves maybe the northern third of the island?
So we serve unincorporated Beaufort County, Jenkins Island, Windmill Harbor. That's where we begin. So right when you come onto Jenkins Island from the bridges. And then our service area stops right after Hilton Head Resort. Stops at Shelter Cove.
Your area, your service area, is it 100% served with the big sewer lines now? So everybody that lives in your market can connect to it? And do we know how many? 95% is great, but we need it 100. Do we know what that?
It bounces around. It bounces around, Tom, because it's not a static thing. Active, they come back active. A parcel that had one house on it gets 2 or 3 houses. Probably never be 100%. But we have to measure it.
So 5% of your customers are still on septic. Is that how you'd say that? Okay.
Bear in mind, that includes like the majority of that. Part of that is contained in one.
So if we got that done, we'd be way up there.
That was certainly part of the questions that I have. Are you at liberty to say which subdivision that is?
Yes. Yeah, that's a whole other meeting about that situation.
Yeah,
but,
I think we just got your
there's
customer.
A couple other pieces of other subdivisions. Wells East is not on PSD water or sewer. It's its own community water system with its own well.
Yeah. Do we know why at this point? I mean, they're comfortable, or they don't want to, or they don't have to, or we're good?
Yeah, I think these kind of projects get the driver a lot of times is, are you having a problem? Can you not flush toilets? Can you not do the laundry after it rains? Septic drain field is saturated. That drives the. So in folks who have not connected yet, they're just not.
Which is a part of one of the promotions that you said, don't wait till it breaks to connect, right?
Yeah, that is. That's why we.
That's why we encourage this.
They, no, I've done it. Yeah, it really is. I mean, as we're all seeing with everything, right? Costs don't go down; they're only going to go up. So that's part of it too. Is if you have an opportunity now, you have all these great programs in place now. Come to us and connect. Avail yourself of these programs.
And so these folks are aware of the program. I mean, they just kind of choose not to connect at this point. It's not that they don't know, or
they like, for example, that subdivision we're talking about. These postcards I'm saying they received them at their house. Sometimes it's the cost.
so they don't qualify for the assistance from. That's right. Yes, absolutely.
As well as you have a situation where it's a private subdivision, and the sewer easement doesn't exist for the utility. So you have a situation where, well, will the subdivision go through what it has to go through to create an easement and provide it to the utility? That hasn't occurred. The opposite then would be, or the other solution would be, well, the utility go use its eminent domain, condemn its right of way, and that's a little different situation.
Yeah.
But that occurs, right? That's how we did so much of the town-funded work. The PSD had to condemn rights of way to perform even the installation of the super.
One of the questions you answered, I think, already, and that's one of mine as far as resistance from any. Are there other areas other than like Spanish Wells where you find any visitors? I think you said what's 80% that we have right now?
We're 95%.
95%. I'm sorry. Okay.
The PSD annually, just to answer a little bit, Levon, the PSD does look annually at what we just generally term landlocked properties, where you have to cross my parcel to get to your parcel, and if there's situations like that and the sewer main isn't to that back parcel yet, the utility is looking at those and saying, okay, that's on us. Let's treat that like a collector main, because it can be prohibitive for that owner to go to the neighbor and say, I need the easement. So the utility goes through that on behalf of that owner.
Yeah.
And we're almost down to like the.
What consideration do we have for, as you probably just mentioned, if there's a new development for the smaller or new construction, or, I know we're talking maybe 95 of what exists now. We'll be thinking about what happens in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, the philosophy, like all utilities in North America, new growth pays its own way onto the system. It's how that's typically done. If we're developing a subdivision, we as the developers pay for that water, sewer, electrical infrastructure, and then doesn't, with new, what occurs with your town-funded program or can occur with SAFE, you can be placing a new unit on a parcel and be eligible for these programs. So that is occurring. We've had to couple, for example, too, like the foundation worked really quickly with us, and we coupled the other charitable fund not discussed here is called the Water Fund. It's at the foundation. PSD customers fund it through their bill roundup program. That pays for income qualified water connection. Well, we coupled that when the town started this program, we realized there's going to be some situations where there wasn't a water connection yet, maybe because it's placed in a new unit. It's going to be eligible under the town program, but it's new. It has no water meter, has no water connection, but it's going to be income qualified. So working with the foundation, they actually opened up the parameters, if you will, of the water fund, and now that fund can work with both SAFE and the town-funded program. That's kind of come into play to place a new unit on it.
That's good. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Pete. That's good work. I'm sorry. Ms. Wright has a question.
Hey, Pete. So I think I heard that there is a cost, and that may be one of the deter for people in connecting. And I also heard you said that PSD does a financing, and the percentage of that over, you said 20 years, and it could be deeded to somebody if the property is sold. So what is that percentage like? And is that based upon bids coming in for connections when the cost being over what maybe someone could pay or what?
You're saying the interest rate you're paying?
So the interest rate coming from PSD?
The interest rate is the utilities cost of the money passed on to the customer. So we had to do one recently and it was like 4%. We've had some that maybe were as low as, 2%. What the utility can access the money for, what our cost of money is. We do our financing program in a 3-year run. So the connections have already occurred, the customers are already on the system, and then we're going back, obtaining, borrowing to reimburse the cost of the connections. At that time, the assessment is placed with whatever. You can fund, the average cost of these connections under this town program, Joyce, the average cost has been around $8,000.
Okay.
And that's with the impact fee. When we do a low pressure connection, that's a more expensive program. That can be like $14,000, $15,000. And kind of the catch or the flip side with it is that's that expense, but the utility is responsible for that system. Whereas gravity, we're averaging less. We're averaging like 6,000 on a gravity connection. But once that's done, that pipe, that's always on the owner's responsibility there.
And you find that for those who cannot afford to pay this and may have to finance this, is it because they just don't meet the qualifications for grants or any other? Is
What
it
you've
because?
done here, remember with the town program, you've not only opened it up for renters, but you've created a greater income eligibility under it. Because that has historically sometimes been a little bit of a difficult thing with SAFE is,
Right, that was going to be my next question, right?
Working,
Right. Thanks.
But the financing is important. An individual customer connecting, you never actually owe the utility anything up front to get connected. Even if I'm not eligible for anything, I can always avail myself of that financing.
That's great. That's good work. And we are sensitive about our wealthy friends too. So thank you for that.
So on to how do people get connected and how can they access it? Deep Well Project has been doing the Project Safe application since July of 2019. I think prior to that, everything was happening at PSD, but because Deep Well already had a lot of relationships with a lot of these people, it was a little bit more comfortable situation. It also let the contractor do the contractor piece, and it let a social service organization do the social service part of the piece. So it was kind of a good division of labor as far as implementing this program. We do accept we have the applications available, both hard copies, which is what a lot of people want to do. They can pick those up Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 at our office. We also have them available for folks if they are not here on Hilton Head. They can download it right from our website. And this Town of Hilton Head sewer application, I'm 99.9% sure can also be, yes, downloaded from the Hilton Head Island website. So the application itself is very accessible for anyone who needs it. A few tips as far as filling them out. First of all, with Project Safe. It's about a 6-page application, which looks a little bit intimidating, but it's very straightforward. Just kind of fill out the application. 2 of the pages do have to be notarized. So we alert people, don't sign those pages until you're in front of the notary. We do have a notary public who's one of the staff members at Deep Well. So if someone doesn't know someone who's a notary, we can do all of that for them when they drop their application off. There are a lot of documents that you need to supply, very straightforward things again, the property tax bill, so we make sure that the people really own the property. There's income verification to make sure their income qualification happens. Anytime people have those documents but maybe don't have easy access to a photocopier, They can also bring their official hard copies to us. We make the copies that go with the application. We can give them their original. That way they're never not in possession of those original documents. That has been a very popular service as well that we're happy to do. And that's really it. Again, the Project Safe application, you do have to provide a number of documents as backup, but the application itself is very simple and straightforward. Town of Hilton had sewer application because the vast majority, all but one of the applications that have come through so far have been a collaborative application between the person who owns the property and the person who is renting and living on that property. So they're not a familial relationship there. Important to know that for Project Safe, let's say grandmother owns the property and she's got children living on the property and grandchildren living on the property. As long as that familial relationship, heirs property is there, all of those family members would qualify for a Project Safe application, assuming all of the income fits. So that's generally, if it's your family's land, Project Safe is the application that's going to be the right bet for you. Again, unless you have an income issue where your income is a little bit too high. And that's when the town sewer application could come in. I'd just like to echo what Pete said. When the town created this, this alternate grant program, they really did a beautiful job of looking at where the donut holes were or where places where people might not qualify to the Project Safe program and tried to build an access point for them. And overwhelmingly, so far what we have seen since this program started last summer is tenants who are living on the property who are almost always income qualifying, but they don't own the land. So the combination of the renter applying based on their income in their household and then the property owner signing off, yes, you can come onto my property to do the infrastructure work has been a really great 1-2 combo. Again, remembering it's the renter, we have to know for income eligibility how many people and what ages live in that home. That's been the biggest kind of thing that we have to gather as far as the town's application. Anyone who is 18 years old or older have to show their income, or we have a zero income form if they, for example, are a full-time student and have no source of income, or they're a stay-at-home mom and they don't have a traditional income. So lots of ways that those kind of special situations can be folded into the program. If you do have a high income and you're too high to qualify for Project Safe, the town's program does go higher. So we have had, I know, one applicant who made a little bit too much money to be approved through Project Safe. They turned around, applied through the town program, and they were then approved. So again, it worked exactly how we hoped it would for those donut hole folks. You just have to show that you applied to Project Safe and were declined. We don't make people, if it's a renter-tenant situation that we know right out the gate is not eligible for Project Safe, they don't have to apply to one and then come to the other. We send them straight to the town program. Again, trying to streamline it and make it as efficient as possible for the consumer. Again, the town's application is a combination. There's parts that the property owner has to fill out and have notarized. There's parts that the renter tenant has to fill out. But it's important to note that the income certification has nothing to do with the property owner's income. It's everything about who's living in the house to be connected. So in this case, the tenant. All the applications, once they're filled out, they come back to us at Deep Well. We review them really carefully to make sure that we haven't missed anything. And before we send it to Town Hall, we make sure it's organized and everything's there. Before we send it to Community Foundation, we try to make sure we've got everything covered. And then we take it on from there. You know, once the completed application comes back to Deep Well, we log it in, we check it, we make sure it's good to go. And then on the next business day, we hand deliver it either to Community Foundation if it's a project safe, or here to Town Hall if it's for the town sewer program. Again, just trying to move. Sometimes this is tied to a bigger construction thing, but until the sewer is there, other things can't happen. So we try to be very mindful of that. Project Safe has a 2 to 4 week review time. I've seen it happen even faster than that. So it is something that people need to plan for, submit it, and then there's going to be a little bit of a wait time. The nice thing Project Safe does is once they have rendered their decision, the applicant is notified by mail at the mailing address they submitted, but PSD number 1 is also immediately notified. So they know, whoa, this connection is going to be fully funded by Project Safe. So you're ready to go when that applicant's ready to have the construction work done. I am a little fuzzier, I will confess, on the turn time for the town of Sewer, but once it's here, I think it generally is in about that same 2 to 4 week range. Does that seem accurate? Okay, very good. And then it's just a matter of once the applicant knows Project Safe is going to fully fund it, or 50% fund it, or 85% fund it. That's basically the 3 options, 50, 85, or 100%. Then they can plan and move forward from there. Again, the results to date for us, these are not cumulative results, but Deep Well started handling the Project Safe application phase in July of 2019. 86 total applications have been submitted. Only 7 out of 86 were declined, all due to the income was a little bit too high. So I don't know what that math is, but 7 out of 86 is a pretty darn good hit rate as far as that goes. And again, in those cases, all of them, they were only declined because the income was a little bit too high from the Project Safe bar. With the town's bar being a little higher, that left room for some other folks to come in there. We just started handling the applications on behalf of the town in July of 2022. 24 applications have come through our door so far. There were 2 that when the income check was done, which is actually handled by Low Country Council of Governments, that not by the folks at Deep Well. We are just get the information together and make sure it's complete. There were only 2 that could not advance to Town Hall because they were not income qualifying. And we've got 4 sitting at our office right now where we're just waiting for some missing documents. And as soon as those documents come in from the applicant, they can move on along too. So it's kept us busy. It's been good. Any questions? That's my contact info, my email, phone number, and name. Again, the applications can be picked up hard copy at Deep Well, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Any of our volunteers there, we have lots of them. We actually have them here on the back. Thank you very much for whoever helped provide that. We've got both applications here, both the town application and the Project Safe. So if anyone here would like to grab some to have to take to your next meeting or where they may be useful, please help yourself. Otherwise, I'll take them back to Deep Well and we'll have them ready to go there. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sandy. That's good information. Any questions? I have one little question. You had mentioned that, sometimes the ones that are on hold for missing documents. Can you tell us a little bit about what type of documents are required and if you know what the missing documents, or if that's an issue or not?
Usually what we're waiting on is the income documents. Project Safe prefers the last 2 years' tax returns for their information. If a lot of our elderly people that are only on Social Security don't even file taxes, and in those cases we just say that they haven't, this is their Social Security income and they have not filed taxes. So Project Safe that's pretty straightforward there. With the town application, again, because we need to have either a 0 income form signed saying this person has no income coming in, or we need a payroll stub, we need a copy of their social security letter, whatever documentation they choose. There's actually a long list. There's 6 or 7 different ways that people can choose to document their income, and it's their choice. But that is generally what we are looking for. It is important that we get a copy of that property tax bill to make sure that the address on the bill syncs up with the address that they're seeking that's the sewer hookup. But those are generally the only documents that we're looking for. There have been a number of times if people just couldn't put their hands on their property tax bill, we just help them go online and pull it down from the Beaufort County website, because that's pretty accessible there. It gets a little funky if it's heirs property and the applicant may be the granddaughter, but as long as she provides a note that explains the property tax bill says it's in Mrs. Jones' name and Mrs. Jones is my grandmother. As long as we have some kind of documentation to fit the puzzle pieces together, then that's sufficient for it to move forward.
Yeah, and the income is what determines how much assistance they will get, right?
So for the town's application, refresh my memory, it's right on the application. Is it 100% of the median household income? Thank you, Nick Day. And Project Safe is 80% of the median household income. So that 20% tier, a lot of people fall into that. They may make a little bit too much to be at 80% of the median household income, but with the towns going all the way up to 100%, it covers a lot more people. And again, that's all driven by the number of people in the household. The more people in the home, the higher the income can be and still be qualifying. So, I always tell people, be sure to count the baby.
That's great. Any other questions for Sandy Gillis or even Pete Nardi at this point?
I have, I heard you mention the property tax bill. So you haven't had any issues where the property tax bill and the owners of the property created an issue for you?
So we've just had people write us a letter to explain that whoever's name is on the property tax bill, the way I explain it is, if your name doesn't match who's on the property tax bill, explain to us how you're related. And as long as they can put that down on a piece of paper, it doesn't have to be typed up, doesn't have to be formal, we just need to the explanation. And then it goes from Community Foundation. From there, again, they just need to understand what's the family relationship there, and then it can move forward.
I mean, that's fair enough, because, oftentimes the tax bill doesn't necessarily reflect who the actual owner of the property is.
As long as they can explain how that relationship works, and that they have, the big thing is that they have permission to place a home there. That's the other piece. That's why when you asked Pete the question earlier about how many aren't connected, it truly is a moving target, because right now there may be one home on that plot of land, but now a son's coming to move there, a granddaughter's coming to move there, and suddenly now there's 3 homes there. So we went from everybody was fully connected to now there's 2 that aren't. So it definitely is a moving target.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy and Pete. That's good information, good work in our community, for sure. Okay, the next item I have is the Gullah Geechee Work Plan Quarterly Update. This is a draft report coming from Krishana. Can I pause just one quick second here? I sometimes will allow, I don't know if anybody in our public had any questions for the last 2 presentations. Thank you.
Right, so y'all bear with me. I have not had any food, so if I'm stumbling, just bear with me here. So, you have an item in your packet here. It's the draft of the quarterly update to Town Council for the Gullah Geechee Cultural Preservation Report, or the Gullah Geechee Work Plan, which is a good chunk of where I get my day-to-day tasks from. As you know, we give this quarterly update, and we are due for this quarter. So we wanted to bring this before you. As you can see, it is a draft. We are planning to go before council on May 16th at the regular meeting, and we wanted to make sure that you were aware of the update that we were giving and had an opportunity to provide any feedback or revisions or additions to what we have here before we move forward. So I'm not going to read the whole paper as it's in the packet, but if wanted to open up the opportunity to dialogue about this and to hear any feedback. Mr. Hens, I know that you gave some brief feedback over a couple of the items on here, and I've noted those. And this is just to make sure that we're, continuously having open communication and direct and clear communication, that we're in agreement with the between staff, work plan, and also the task force.
Okay. Questions for Krishana? I appreciate your work. I know we had a conversation about a week or so ago, and getting together on the quarterly update for the work plan. I'm familiar with the topics certainly that we have and the ongoing work that we have. We continue to mention that, even though we have a priority work plan, that we are still looking at all of the recommendations wherever possible, all of the low-hanging fruit possible. Any other questions for Krishana? Right, you okay? Mm-hmm.
I do have one question as we review this. So on the education program, is that basically just for the town?
It is for the recommendation, CP7 from the report says that it is for the town officials, town employees and elected appointed officials. There might be some language about it being, there's some language in the report also in some of the other recommendations about educating other folks in the community. So this particular program is being geared towards employees and officials.
I guess my question too, second question to that could be, is it possible that we can extend this out into the community if anyone may be interested in it? Say you had a new restaurant owner or a new hotel that's coming in and, just for employees or anything like that, is it possible that we can probably source that out, not right now, but later, so that it could be a better understanding, not just within the town?
I think there's
also in the community.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's a great question, and there's potential for that. Right now, this is, the priority is making sure that staff and officials are getting this information as quickly as possible, getting this program off the ground as quickly as possible. And then also, the part of what is also in this draft report here is the coordinated community collaboration and making sure that we can do that, because I know that, for example, Mitchellville has a very robust, information that's available, on history, of course, pointing people towards the cultural resources that already exist, Gullah Museum and the heritage tours. And so there are we want to make sure that we're promoting those and pushing business towards those entities as well. So there's definitely some room for, some collaboration on how we go about doing that.
I think that would be definitely advised to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can help you with that a little bit, I think. When we were drafting this or coming up with the idea of a educational program, initially there was some discussion about offering it out to the schools and things like that. I think in this particular situation, this was something that it was kind of softly mandated for staff and hopefully town council as well. But we're hoping to be able to share, as to your point, to share those resources and make them available to whosoever will.
Well, I think the importance behind that too is because surely the town doesn't have that kind of turnover that it needed like every quarter, you know.
Good point.
So, right? So, you know, just to be able to kind of share that with others, I think, not just to have it set on the shelf once you complete it.
That's a very good point.
Great point. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So just so you're aware that this will be going into the town council packet for the May 16th meeting, you know, hearing the couple of suggestions that Mr. Hens mentioned and just some other editorial comments that I had myself. This will be what goes forth, so just so you're aware.
And I will also be asked to make a chairman's report.
Yes, sir.
At that same meeting, I would say to my colleagues, if there's any input you want to give me as well, then I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I find myself at the end of our agenda. And again, I want to thank all of you who came out, our public, and certainly our staff for the fine work that they're doing, and all of our partners in the community, and certainly my colleagues here on the dais. If there are no other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. We find ourselves adjourned. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.